Welcome, NoDQ Galaxy, and we are back finally with another NoDQ review, and I am Virtue, here being joined by none other than Aaron Rift, TJS, who is not in the bathroom. Wow. Interesting. And, of course, here is Stefan, the Wizard of Osborne. Did I get that right?
Just the Wizard of NoDQ. Wizard of Osborne sounds so weird. I'm not against it, but to me it sounds so weird. But yeah.
Well, how's it going? What's up?
It's been a while, guys. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Not bad. Friday. Saturday? Friday? When are you posting this, Aaron?
Hopefully before Saturday, East Coast time.
Nice. Well, TJS, so are you in a new apartment? What's going on?
Man, I'm going heel. I'm refusing to record in the bathroom because the fans are starting to like it. We can't have that. Got to go heel. So that's what we're doing now.
You got to sell shirts, though. You got the new Tyler the Toilet t-shirt courtesy of Kayfabe Candy Ass.
Okay, guys, here's the truth. I'm at my girlfriend's, and I'm not in her bathroom. Instead, I'm just recording out here for this week only. So, yes, still buy the shirts.
Well, shout out, speaking of girlfriend, shout out to Big G because he's sick. He originally called off tonight doing this, being sick. I said I think he's on a date with his girlfriend, but that's just me. So,
okay.
Aaron, how's it going?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited to be doing this review. We're coming off Survivor Series. It was a very busy week for me in Los Angeles, and I'm home now, and it's nice to be able to get back to business here, and let's go ahead and get started here.
All right, so thanks for the topics, guys. Stefan, I believe you put a lot of them on there, and, of course, I did my little twist on them. First thing I want to talk about, because I don't think we really talked about this, Nia Jax and Becky Lynch. And if we already talked about it, let's bring it back up. So a couple weeks ago, before Survivor Series, actually it wasn't a couple weeks. When was it? The Monday before Survivor Series.
Yeah.
We had a potato. Was it a potato? Was it deliberate? Anyway, Becky got busted open by Nia Jax, and of course the outrage started. Anybody that doesn't wrestle said Nia's unsafe, send her back to NXT. And I'm just so mixed on this because it sucked. We were all ready. We were absolutely all ready for Becky versus Ronda. And, of course, when something like this happens, you go through the concussion protocol, plans change. And we'll talk about how it changed afterwards. But fans just seem like they want to just pick apart Nia. And the thing is, how many injuries, guys, has she been responsible for? I've lost – somebody said 2 or 3. I only remember the Becky one. What else? Who else did Nia hurt?
Didn't she hurt Asuka?
See, and this is where we're going back to. I remember Seth Rollins having a string of bad luck and injuring a lot of people. Is it really their fault? And I believe that if a wrestler is so bad at what they do, WWE, even though she's related to The Rock, would put her back in NXT or pull her off TV. And the fact is they're running with this. So, TJS, I want to start with you. I personally believe, like any injury, it's a blessing in disguise. Yes, it sucks. We lost that match at Survivor Series. But in the long run, there's more empathy, more sympathy. More people will even be more strongly behind Becky because of this. And unfortunately, people are going to hate Nia for all the wrong reasons, but in wrestling, they can use that as heat. TJS, what's your thoughts on this situation?
Well, I certainly don't think that Nia Jax should be rewarded for doing this, which it seems like that's what's happening. It seems like they're playing up on this, claiming to get heel heat. But, I mean, why wouldn't they just sweep this under the rug and be like, why did they have to show Nia Jax punching Becky? Why couldn't they just say, Becky suffered this injury on Raw? And they didn't have to specify who did it. They didn't have to show the footage in slow motion. They could have just said, Becky's injured, she can't wrestle. Because now, I get that you're getting the heat on Nia, but she's getting rewarded for injuring someone. Like, I don't think that's right. Because, like you said, injuries do happen. But when Seth Rollins ended Sting's career, you didn't have him bragging about it on WWE TV. You didn't have him come out and talk about, I dislocated Finn Balor's shoulder. That's just not something that you do. And Seth was a heel. So you could say that, oh, Seth needed the heel heat. But he didn't go out and get rewarded for injuring people. I don't think it should be publicly acknowledged like this. I think it's a big mistake. Stefan.
No. Finn Balor getting injured definitely helped Seth Rollins, and I think Seth Rollins did mention it. I mean, I think he was a heel at that point, so why not? He didn't mention it with Sting because there was no storyline reason to mention that because Sting wasn't going to go any further past that anyway.
Good point.
Hey, don't forget about Cena's busted nose.
Yeah.
Didn't he play off that?
Yes, he did.
And in this case, it was on television and it got reported before they made a big deal about it. And it helps both causes. It helps Becky Lynch. It helps Nia Jax. And so it's all selective on what they mention and how much and how deep they go into it. They've given her a hashtag, Facebreaker.
Exactly.
But if you look back, she has been a part of several injuries over the last few years. And I think it stems from the fact that she was in NXT for far too short of a time. They were in a rush to call her up, and she didn't get enough training in just handling the weight difference, I think. And if you look back at the video of her punching Becky Lynch, there was a couple of stiff shots from Becky Lynch when she dove on her in the corner because she had her back to Becky. And I think she turned around with just like, okay, we're throwing stiff punches. And maybe she threw one a little bit too stiff and broke her face. But I can't say they're wrong for using it. I mean, they're using the Roman Reigns leukemia angle.
Right.
Big time.
They're saying that he is going to answer to God because of the Shield.
That's not Roman Reigns' fault, though. This is Nia's fault.
Well,
but how do you know that? But seriously, this is the problem I have. Sorry, Stefan, we'll get right back to. How do you know that? We see video footage. We don't know what Nia and Becky and management discussed backstage of exactly what happened and what their thoughts were. You're acting. See, you don't know that.
But they're playing off it being Nia's fault. Nia's not saying that you did it by accident. She's coming out there saying, this is the hand that broke Becky's face.
But it could have been deliberate. It could have been a potato. We don't know. We really don't know. We see the video footage. It is what it is. Stefan, sorry, back to you.
No, it's okay. There's no way to know if it was deliberately that hard, but you can tell that it was a pretty stiff punch. But whether it was her fault or not, it's still the wrestling business. I mean, you go out there expecting that you could get injured at any time. In this case, she needs coaching on some things that she does in the ring better. But in this case, it was a punch, man, and I think it might have been a little bit deliberate, but I don't think she was meaning to break her face.
Aaron Rift.
Well, there's not much else that we've said that hasn't really been said already, but I will say this. I don't blame WWE for trying to capitalize on the situation. Sometimes shit happens, and regardless of whether it was her fault or if she did it on purpose or it was an accident, could have been any number of things, who knows. But the fact is it happened, and WWE had to make the best of it, so they changed up plans. They put Charlotte in the match, and turned out to be a great match. Crowd was booing Ronda out of the building. It was nuts. And I figured it would be that bad anyways with Becky in there, but it was still bad with Charlotte. And the crowd hated Nia Jax at Survivor Series. I mean, she got heavily booed, like Roman Reigns level booing for her. But WWE's just trying to take that negative and turn it into a positive, just like the Montreal Screwjob. Brett got screwed. Vince used that to make himself the biggest heel in wrestling. So the idea is Nia already had the match scheduled with Ronda Rousey at the TLC pay-per-view, so why not try to capitalize on that the best you can and try to turn Nia into this monster heel. The problem that I see with it is that she's doing the punch now and lifting her fist up just like the Big Show. And the Big Show and her already have these comparisons for being the same type of character with the heels and face turns back and forth. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. And I think after TLC, Nia will go back to just being another person on the roster. And also,
after she loses?
Yeah, probably. And keep in mind also that Natalya and Ronda Rousey had this little storyline going. And because Jim Neidhart died, that kind of forced WWE to not go with the idea of turning Natalya heel. So they had to come up with something. And basically they went with Nia in Natalya's spot. And things just happen, you know. Nia's in the spot right now, and WWE's already had to change plans with it. So if they punished Nia for that, then it would just create even more chaos than there already is. That's just how I see it, at least.
Yeah, and it ends up giving us Ronda and Charlotte early because Becky got hurt, right? Rumored match for WrestleMania. Now, I remember before Becky was ruled out of Survivor Series, people were actually thinking, wow, could we get Becky and Ronda for WrestleMania?
Right.
And here we are now after the result that happened at Survivor Series with Charlotte going crazy and using that kendo stick. Now, all of a sudden, I hear a lot of people talking again, well, I think WWE might go back to Ronda and Charlotte WrestleMania. What's everyone's thoughts now with Ronda Charlotte? Now, obviously, this happened early because Becky got injured. But I think this is still a compelling story, and it's cool to see now Charlotte kind of – remember she was getting that kind of Roman Reigns heat because she was against Becky. Now people are kind of cheering her and booing Ronda, which is not so much crazy because Charlotte's a wrestler, Ronda's an outsider, and a lot of fans still – you have to earn those fans' respect that were longtime wrestling fans, not UFC fans. So, Stefan, I'll start with you. What's your take on this Ronda Charlotte situation, and how do you think this is going to evolve to WrestleMania?
I think what happened at the pay-per-view at Survivor Series was the initial plan for Becky. I think they just went with the same call because I don't think Becky was going to lose that match, not with the momentum she's got. The silver lining here is she didn't even have to lose by disqualification.
Right.
That now goes on Flair. And the fact that the crowd cheered her for doing it is just a happy coincidence, I think. And they're just going with it. And I guess their hope is that they can make Flair into this badass babyface because they can pretend to go with the fans and turn her, quote, heel. But at the same time, the fans are so glad that they finally turned her heel that now they're cheering the heel character.
Right.
And
isn't that funny?
Heel getting over. It's just the crowd's not reacting the way that you would think a crowd should react to a heel character, because they want to cheer for the fact that Charlotte's now a heel, and they're like, "This is the Charlotte you wanted."
Right.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, on SmackDown, it didn't even feel like Charlotte was a heel. The Iconics came out, and Charlotte beat up both of them. So it feels like Charlotte's just kind of, for now, filling in to Becky's role as like the renegade babyface. And once Becky comes back, we'll have to see what happens with Charlotte. I could see Charlotte perhaps going to Raw at some point, or maybe Becky even goes to Raw. Like, I'm wondering what's going to happen. Like, maybe at the Royal Rumble, we'll see Charlotte face Ronda one more time, and then Becky wins the Royal Rumble perhaps, and then goes on to face Ronda at WrestleMania. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. But yeah, right now, I'm not even sure if Charlotte is considered a heel. I think she's basically filling into Becky's role. But TJS, any thoughts you have on it?
Yeah, I mean, you guys said it. Charlotte is basically Becky at this point, and it's interesting. I know these social media jabs don't mean much, but Becky has said on Twitter she's been mocking Charlotte a lot. She said that she's waiting for Charlotte to dye her hair orange and call herself the Woman. So I'm not really sure what's going on. Like you said, Charlotte beat up two heels on SmackDown and was getting cheered. And I have a feeling, this is off topic, but if Roman Reigns were to ever turn heel, then he would get the exact reaction that Charlotte has gotten.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's exactly what would happen. So there's not much to say. I really hope that it's Becky versus Ronda at WrestleMania and not Charlotte versus Ronda, because I think Becky and Ronda should close WrestleMania. I'm just saying that right now.
Right. I agree.
But I bet you 2 months ago, nobody was saying that. Nobody was saying that. Isn't that crazy? And to Becky's credit, she is playing social media perfectly. Conor McGregor, Chris Jericho. If you follow her Twitter, Becky's, she is getting her name out there, and people are interacting with her. Right. And I think that's a big deal, and that might catch management's eye because they like if they see a wrestler getting attention, that wrestler is going to get a push. So Becky is being very, very smart about it. There's a stigma out there on my social feed that I hate Becky. No, I don't. I've been Aaron Rift on videos months ago. I said I like Becky. When are they going to finally do something with her?
Right.
So it's there. It's on NoDQ. So this is interesting. And you know what? Nia, Charlotte, Ronda, and Becky, good for all four of them because I think they all come out of this. In the long run, Clayton knows who I'm talking about. come out better for this accident. That's just my
Absolutely.
opinion.
And the thing is, they all are getting reactions now. The women are actually becoming the focal point of WWE television. You know, years ago, nobody was caring about the women. Now, the women are the talk of WWE. So things have really changed, and they're the ones that are getting the heat now.
They get better reactions in the tag division. Seriously, they really do. Like
True. And
that's
205.
Yeah, I mean, years ago we had such great tag teams in the fold, and women were just in bra and panties matches, and now, I mean, I think that they're doing really good. I think Ronda has really helped the division a lot, and turning Becky, it's been really good, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, speaking of heat and women, James Ellsworth. So he sent some nudes, you know, because that's the cool thing to do. Yeah. Well, thanks, Aaron. Allegedly, 2 underage, allegedly females, and of course, this is blown up. He's denied it. His attorneys denied it. Right. I just want everybody's take on this. We've talked about this kind of with Paige. If you are in the limelight, so to speak, why? Like, you need to protect yourself and your brand a little bit better. And Ellsworth was in WWE for a couple of years, right? Came back for a short stint. People know who he is, right? Versus when he was just an indie wrestler. So, Stefan, I want to start with you. What's wrong with this dude, if that indeed happened?
Well, I think you're right that they need to protect their brand. They need to protect their face better. But there's a difference between what Ellsworth has been alleged to do and Paige, because what Paige did was absolutely legal. And it just was unfortunate that it got leaked out. In this case, it was not appropriate, not legal, and it should have been exposed if it is in fact correct. That's all I have to say about it. I mean, he's dumb for doing it in the first place, let alone the fact that he's semi-famous.
Yeah.
And at least
now, TJ.
Oh, I was just gonna say, at least he's gotten off of social media now and letting his legal team handle the situation.
Yeah, I mean, TJS, were you out there searching for those nudes? Were you trying to see it? Were you looking for the actual? Because I wasn't.
I actually did receive those nudes from the person that he allegedly sent them to. She was on Snapchat, and she sent the nudes to me, and basically, so look.
Explain yourself, please. We all want to know. This is riveting.
So I had to see this to believe it, and I regret seeing it, but...
He just took off. He couldn't take it anymore.
Look,
are you friends with this girl?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't do Snapchat. I'm sorry. I'm behind the times.
That's what I have to explain. On Snapchat, you can only view the photos and videos one time. And she had another phone recording this stuff, which means that she either knew that these were videos and pictures, that they were nudes coming from Ellsworth, or she was faking, which it's James Ellsworth in the pictures and the videos. So I have a feeling, now don't quote me, I'm not going on record, but I'm saying maybe she set him up and asked for this stuff and then was like, oh, he's sending it, so now I'm going to record it, and now I'm going to say that this man sent me nudes so I can get my name out there and be famous.
Yeah, it's just likely that he sent her one picture and then that one was gone, and then she's like, hey, get your camera over here, or get your phone over here, and he sends more.
See, that's true too. Good point, Stefan. I don't know. We don't know if he actually did this. Like I said, it looks like him on the video, but
in this digital age, everything's trackable. So just let the judicial system do its thing. We'll see what happens.
That's what they taught us. Like in law enforcement, they just tell us allegedly, don't ever go off and say for a fact. So I guess we can just time says about this.
Yeah, and like I said, he's smart about actually just stepping away and letting his legal team handle the situation and not comment any further on it. Yeah. He denied it, and we'll see how it plays out. But everything at this point is just speculation, and I really don't have much to add on it. We'll just have to see how things play out with that. I think he's doing the right thing though by keeping quiet now.
Agreed.
All right, guys, let's talk about Enzo Amore. Aaron, you were there.
Yeah.
This is like a roller coaster for me because I wish Jeff Meacham was here, but he's not. I was a fan of the stunt that he pulled. I like Enzo. I liked when he was in WWE. I understand why they let him go.
Right.
He got caught up and kept things from them, and it's a company where their policy is if you have something going on with you, legally or semi-legally, let us know. He's since tried to be a rapper. It's a hard game to do.
It is.
So him showing up for his wrestling brand at wrestling to do that, of course, he must now know he's never going to be hired by WWE.
Not necessarily.
No, unless it's a work or a semi-work, and some people were in the know. But nonetheless, I thought it was entertaining. But from what I understand, his concert only drew like 50 people. Ouch. But this is the same guy that on Times Square, who there's hundreds and hundreds of people going up and down. A couple hundred people stopped there and listened to him. Now it's a different situation versus a paid club. So, Aaron, what's your thoughts on this Enzo thing? I really wish somebody like indie companies would bring him in, but I have a feeling he's asking for too much money and nobody can afford him. They probably love his attention, but I think his price tag is too high. What's your thoughts?
I mean, it could be. A lot of people might just consider him a joke at this point, and I don't really know if WWE will bring him back or not. I know you're saying it's probably not going to happen, but anything is possible. Never say never. And he is trying to keep his name out there, and he's finding creative ways to keep his name in the headlines. And it was definitely one of the most noteworthy things about Survivor Series, to the point where pretty much everyone was focused on that, and nobody cared about the tag team match and with Drake Maverick pissing himself. I completely just missed that because I was so focused on the Enzo stuff.
Did you actually hear the Enzo chant? Was it starting to echo? Because I couldn't tell on TV.
It was very loud, and there was a huge
that's impressive.
chant. There was a huge chant of "We want Enzo," and then the other people were saying "No, we don't." But it was mostly cheers for him, and it was a pretty big reaction. It got a lot of people talking, and just from what I remember. There's the woman security guard. I believe she was the same one that tried to take down Gronk, I think, at WrestleMania. Do you guys remember that?
I do, vaguely, but I remember now.
Yeah, it was that. I believe it was the same woman. She ran, and she, like, tripped just trying to get to Enzo, and then she, like, pulled him down, and he, like, fell into people. And it was pandemonium a little bit, but Enzo did just leave on his own, and they just, basically forced him out of there, said, "You got to go." And that sort of thing. He was standing on his chair, I think, though, so that was definitely something that wasn't going to be tolerated. And we kind of knew it was coming, too, because somebody took a screen cap of him during the previous match, and you could see it was him wearing a disguise. Jeff was like, "Is that CM Punk?" And I'm like, "No, that's Enzo." So, yeah, Jeff was pretty upset about it, though. I know some wrestlers were pissed, the fact that he would hijack a show. I mean, TJS, what are your thoughts on it? You know what Jeff said on the NoDQ live review of it, but any opinion on that? Like, do you think Enzo should not be doing that? That was just completely out of line, or do you think sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get publicity?
I think that if you buy a ticket to the show, it's fair game, and if you're more entertaining than the acts on the card, if you can get people to pay attention to you, which is what Enzo did, then, I understand that they're going to get him thrown out, but I think everyone is just biased against Enzo. I think that he was fired for no reason because it was turned out that the allegations weren't true. I think that the guy made 205 Live. He put a lot of eyes on it, and I just think that it's unfair that they released him. I think that I don't get it. I know that people are like, "Oh, he's a little shit" or whatever, but it's just annoying to me because the guy was doing well for himself. Cruiserweight champion. I loved it. I love Enzo. He's great. I know he's not the best technical wrestler. He's not Buddy Murphy. He's not Mustafa Ali. But this guy has so much charisma.
Yep.
Even when just hijacking the show, he got people to pay attention to him.
Yep.
He gave me a lot of traffic, for sure.
And TJS, too, with him being the Cruiserweight champion back then and people resenting him and having the belt because he wasn't a wrestler, that could have got somebody over because they would have want, like a Mustafa Ali or Cedric Alexander to beat him for the title. We don't want it on Enzo anymore. They just don't do that properly anymore. We've talked about that with Brock. They just don't build the next star anymore like they used to.
It was such a great angle with him. I didn't think he was going to beat Neville. And when he did, he cheated. He had to cheat to win. I thought that was just so awesome because he was so physically outmatched, and he just used old school heel tactics. It was awesome. Anyway, I hope Enzo comes back to WWE because he's just awesome. I love and it sucks about his concerts, but I think that it wasn't advertised enough. I think that he really wasn't able to get the word out as much as he probably should have. I get that you can tweet about it and whatever, but isn't it? Where was that at?
It was in West Hollywood. So here's the thing about that. So I really wanted to go to it, right? Because I wanted to see what Enzo was up to and check it out. Problem for me, and this is just me being the old fart, it started at 10 o'clock Pacific time, which is 2 hours after Raw ends. I really don't want to be driving out to West Hollywood at 10 o'clock on a Monday night to go see a rap concert. I don't care if it's Enzo. I don't care if it's Eminem. Yeah. Well, maybe if it was Eminem, I would do it. But Enzo, no.
I think that's something that we have to take into account here, the time period. Like, if this was on a weekend maybe at, like, noon or something.
And he was headlining. He shouldn't be headlining in a game he's new at. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I think he would have been better off doing it like closer to Staples Center earlier in the day before Survivor Series. I think that would have been better.
Yeah. I wonder why he didn't wait until the Cruiserweight title match before he tried to hijack the show.
From my understanding, people were already figuring out he was there, and I think maybe he knew he had to do something sooner or else his cover would be blown. I mean, maybe he was planning to wait until the Cruiserweight match, or maybe he was going to wait until later in the show. Who knows?
So you think they would have thrown him out for just sitting there? Do you really think WWE would?
Somebody might have said something. I mean, once he got up and did it, then people were going to take action.
I mean, if he buys a ticket, come on. Why did he even have to come in a disguise? Why couldn't he just sit there and watch the damn show?
He would have been mobbed by fans. That's the thing, and people would have caught on that he was there.
Maybe
I love the meme out there where he looks like Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite when he was dressed up in that gimmick. That was awesome. So Stefan, what's your thoughts on Enzo? You never did really tell me when we were in Chicago.
Well, okay, so what you have to understand about the WWE or Titan Enterprises or whatever, they have HR just like every other company. And what we see of Enzo out in the ring or in the public eye is not the be-all, end-all of his record at work. And we don't know why HR felt the need to let him go, but they did. It wasn't because of the allegations, because they weren't proven yet. In fact, they got dropped. It was because he didn't let anybody know that, hey, I've been accused of this. And then you add on top of that everything else that has been alleged to go on with Enzo and Big Cass.
Right.
I mean, Big Cass was let go for, his attitude.
Yeah. Oh, so real quick, Stefan, I did want to add that according to Enzo, he did not know about the allegations until the last minute. So it's not like he could have told them. That's from his side, at least, that he didn't know.
I don't think that's how the police work. I don't think they know like way ahead of time, and then they don't tell you. Like, if they can tell you, they come find you and tell you.
Right.
Like, I don't see why they would wait to come and arrest him. Like, if the allegations were made, they were made.
Well, yeah, you have to be notified if you're being investigated. So, and I don't know. It's just.
And as far as what he did, I think it was either way too early or way too late. He came back into the public eye way too soon with his rap gimmick. And I call it a gimmick because he's not that good at it. I mean, he's better than I would be, but he's not good enough to headline a show, let alone expect to fill 5,000 seats at a show. I just think his timing with everything that he has done after this or after being accused, his timing has been off for all of this. This was not for you to do it at. Either he should have given it more time and maybe the simmer of people that remember him and how good he was on the mic. Because I saw a video of him doing his entrance gimmick, his promo, whatever. And there weren't a whole lot of people that were into it. Even the people that were right around him. They should have been like, oh my God, there's Enzo, whatever. It wasn't over at all.
Where did you see this at?
It was on my news feed on Facebook. It was a close-up. I mean, somebody was like 3 people away from him. And he stood up in his chair, and he did his, I'm the certified G, and you can't teach that.
Oh, you're talking about from Survivor Series.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And then he gets snatched out of his seat, and they fall into some people, and then he gets carried away. He pretty much knew he was going to get let out.
But Aaron, you said you heard it echoing.
Yeah, it was loud. Once people realized he was there, they were cheering. And when they realized he was being kicked out, the place erupted in boos. I mean, you guys can see the video. I did post it.
He's polarizing, guys, and we know in wrestling it works. It just sucks that he's not working for a company right now.
Didn't they still chant "Let him stay"? Wasn't that also another one? They were chanting.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, exactly. They were definitely for the most part cheering him, but there were some people that don't like the guy, and Jeff was obviously pissed off. But Jeff is funny. Too bad he's not here, like you said, Virtue.
I know, man.
Jeff is really critical, saying it's disrespectful to the wrestlers and whatnot. However, here, let me say this. Here's the thing, and I should be saying this when Jeff's here, but he's not here, so whatever. I'm sure Jeff will have a rebuttal or whatever. Jeff loved XPW, right? Extreme Pro Wrestling, ran by Rob Black, for those of you that don't know, the old ECW knockoff that was funded by Rob Black and the porn money. But anyways, XPW, what did they do? They invaded ECW. That, I believe it was the Heatwave pay-per-view in 2000. The XPW guys actually showed up in the crowd, and there was an actual fight. How was Jeff reacting to this? He went to XPW shows afterwards. So
it wasn't a story.
Benedict.
Yeah, exactly. Just saying, Jeff. I forgot to bring that up when we did the live video. But that's a perfect example. He was a big mark for XPW, and he still supported them after they hijacked the show and so-called disrespected the wrestlers. Now, granted, that was 18 years ago, and opinions can change, but still.
One more thing, guys, about Enzo. I forgot to say, he actually just dropped a new album, like yesterday or today, and he's rebranded. He's no longer known as Real One, which was his rapper name before. Now he's just known as Enzo without the E. So
like the NWO logo.
Yeah.
NZO.
NZO. Yeah, I wonder how long that'll last before.
Well, I always thought he could be a good manager. I mean, at least we got Leo Rush with Lashley, right?
Yeah, except he's not even getting to cut promos anymore. He did nothing at Survivor Series, and I don't even think he did anything at Raw.
No,
well, because this happened during this match, it leads me to think, guys like Enzo get fired for, okay, we get it. The entertaining guys, I know not to everybody, but a lot of fans thought he was entertaining. They liked the whole Enzo and Big Cass gimmick in NXT, and maybe those guys were too over before they ever tasted real success, and maybe that's why their egos, that's why they're not with WWE anymore. But what does WWE give us? We get a gimmick called AOPP because they had Drake Maverick do the whole urine gimmick because he was afraid of the Big Show, and then for the next 24 hours we get urine jokes. Like, this is, I'm bringing this up because this is WWE creative today, right? Back in the Attitude Era, we got Austin, we got Rock, we got the Corporation, Shane McMahon, Screwjobs, this and that. And I know some of that was over the top, maybe too much. But Aaron, were you not hooked from week to week television?
Absolutely, I sure was.
Even past the Attitude Era, right? The Paul Heyman SmackDowner. Yeah. I mean, didn't it? And today, look at our creative. So, Steph and I will start with you. What do you think of stuff like this? And then all of a sudden now, does it make AOP a joke because of AOPP?
You got piss your pants jokes back in the Attitude Era too. I mean, the famous one, Austin with the gun that said bang.
And that was Vince, though.
At least that was edgy, though. That had the gun.
Right. Oh, that's true.
It's been used. It wasn't used properly this time because nobody believes that Drake Maverick is a character that would surprise you that they would pee themselves from being scared. Like, it's not that surprising. I don't think he's been built as kind of a joke, and this is just furthering him being a joke. And the segment on Raw in the back was just awful to watch. It was. Yeah. I worry about AOP, and sure enough, they got beat. And there's a reason to worry about AOP. So you think finally they're going to give them the tag titles? They're going to try and redeem both AOP and the tag titles at the same time, and this is what they give us. They make a joke out of both, and I'm not a fan.
Right. I agree 100%. Basically what they're doing is they're turning AOP into a comedy act when they're supposed to be taken seriously as these monster heels that destroy everybody. They were damaged weeks ago when they were just getting beat up by the Shield in a random segment where they were just one of like 10 guys. That was really the beginning of the end for them. But now they're the tag team champions, yet this whole thing, the AOPP, yeah, it's pretty lame. It's one thing when, like, William Regal is doing comedy with Chris Jericho, and, that's funny and whatnot, but AOP shouldn't be doing comedy. TJS, your thoughts on it?
why is this a thing? I don't get it. When this whole Enzo debacle went down, you had Drake Maverick be specially assigned to the 205 Live brand by Daniel Bryan because he said, I want you to restore prestige to this brand. And that's what he did. Drake Maverick was pretty much the on-screen Triple H. He was the authority figure while Triple H pulled the strings behind the curtains. And the show has been damn good. And now, what are we doing? We have this man pissing himself on television. Why? I don't... What? I just imagine Vince is in the back just laughing his ass off at this. He's like, have him piss his pants.
Too bad you're not in your bathroom. You could hit the toilet.
But the thing is, Vince did it already, and Vince always does something. He's never gonna not do something that he
potty humor, Aaron. He loves it.
Why? Look, I love South Park, but at least it's creative. Like, we are seriously getting this man pissing himself, and he has two badasses that are supposed to.
That's what saved them from losing the match.
Okay, so the only way this is redeemable is if AOP kills everyone on the roster now because they made fun of their manager. But that's not going to happen. Do you remember when they tried to cut promos? Oh, my God.
Oh, that was terrible. Yeah, that was not good.
These are if you saw these guys on the street and their gear or whatever, they look like total badasses. And then you realize that their manager is like a pissing leprechaun. It's gotten out of hand. And then the backstage segment with the catering, you have the jobbers there. I don't want to talk about the Raw Tag Division because the Revival should have been tag champion a year ago.
Well, they're done for, too.
Hey, Enzo's looking for work. Anyway.
Oh, my God, this is just awful, man.
All right, well, we're not going to talk about this forever. So let's take a break from WWE for one segment at least. Stefan, you brought this up, so I'm going to start with you. I vaguely have been finally seeing information about this. Jim Ross, Chris Jericho, and I believe funded by the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know his name. My apologies. AEW, All Elite Wrestling. And Aaron and I have both said no one will ever compete with WWE until like a Ted Turner, a billionaire, has a bunch of money. And that took a long time for WCW to get there.
Did.
So this is just interesting. Jericho's always been a WWE lifer since he went there in '99, and now it seems like he's kind of detached himself from WWE. Takes shots at him. He's all about his own thing, doing New Japan, and now him and Jim Ross. And from what I understand, Aaron, Jim Ross and WWE didn't part ways too well back then. So what do you think their end game is? Stefan, I want to start with you. You brought this up. Do you know any more about this promotion?
Well, this guy, the partial owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, he is a multi-billion-dollar, like in the double digits, billions of dollars. Like, he is a Ted Turner kind of guy. And if you have the guys that can put on their very first show and it sells out 10,000 plus seats, these guys can take a billionaire and make him money if he's willing to invest.
Right.
And if they've got a guy that's willing to invest now, there were several trademarks applied for by this company. And I believe the trademarks were addressed to the field house of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, this guy is trademarking the company name. He's trademarking a Tuesday night show.
Right.
And
I'm interested.
The big thing about this is it's not going to work if they don't have television.
Right, exactly.
They don't have a way for people to watch this. And if they're already trying to trademark a Tuesday night show, like this literally says Tuesday in the trademark, it seems like they might have TV already.
Right.
If they've got $1 billion backer, they've got a TV slot, and they have an audience that can fill 15,000 seats, then this might work.
And Jim Ross is very good with talent. I don't know what his role would be with this.
Right.
But, I mean, let's face it, Jim Ross is awesome at recognizing talent.
Right. Well, let's keep in mind that JR and Jericho have denied that they're actually involved in this, so who knows how accurate that is. They very well could be, but they have downplayed their involvement in it. But obviously, all Elite Wrestling would indicate that Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Cody, all of them are somehow involved in this. And coming off the success of All In, that maybe there's some interest in terms of actually trying to get something going on a full-time basis. Now, will they be able to keep that momentum going? That's the big question. Can they fill 10,000 people in a building on a consistent basis? That is untested. That's a big question mark. Apparently, they are looking at doing an all-in 2, maybe sometime in the spring. I heard one rumor about Las Vegas as a potential venue for that, and they could always run California. They could go back to Chicago. But there's definitely interest from the fans. There's interest from the talents that perhaps are sick of WWE and want another place to work for. So we'll see. I mean, it's definitely great for the business if this happens. We definitely need some competition, but it is going to be an uphill battle, like you said, Virtue. It took WCW many years before they could actually be competitive. And TNA never really got that close. They did get about 2 million viewers when they went on Monday nights for the first time, but that quickly fizzled out. So we'll see. Time will tell. They definitely have some momentum right now, and at some point, somebody's got to try to take a chance and see if you can tap into that marketplace that WWE has dominated for so long. But TJS, any other thoughts you have on it?
Well, All In didn't do all that well as far as TV buys, did it?
I think it did like 20,000 pay-per-view buys, which isn't a really big number, but
so I don't think that they'd be able to consistently sell out venues because you have to have big stars to do this. And I get Kenny Omega, Jericho, they're big stars and everything, but you have to have a big pool of talent so you can put on new matches instead of just doing the same ones.
CM Punk's return to wrestling? No.
Right, it
would take something like that.
Yeah, you need a big mainstream star. I mean, it's for a very specific audience, a niche audience, and they need
All In with the money that they had from selling T-shirts at Hot Topic. That's what they were able to pull off with their funds, with their wallet. Now they have a wallet of a multi-billionaire.
Yeah,
but you build a performance center in Jacksonville, Florida. You treat it like NXT. That's where you do your weekly shows. And then 4 times a year, every 3 months, you take a pay-per-view show on the road. You sell out a 15,000-seat venue, and you make a lot of money. But you have a billionaire in your pocketbook to provide you with the money to get the stars that you need to get people watching your television product.
But who are those stars? That's the thing.
Whoever you can afford, and apparently they can afford probably whoever they want.
Well, here's the thing, too. It's if they want to get to the next level, I mean, maybe they're just going to do a smaller scale thing, but if they want to get to the next level, not only do they need the talented guys that can go, they also need to be able to make their own stars and also bring in name guys. Like if they could get a Batista, that would be quite significant for them. But they need
probably get Nakamura and AJ.
Yeah, they need those guys, but at the same time, they also need to build their own stars. So it's the combination of both. Can they do what WCW did and bring in some big talent, but at the same time use that big talent to create their own stars and provide a real alternative to WWE? That's the big question.
Bischoff had that in the palm of his hand, Aaron. He built WCW to be better than WWE. He had the young stars, and they didn't push those young stars. And what crumbled? You know what I mean?
Right.
It was so God, could you imagine if they would? Now, granted, we had the AOL Time Warner merger that screwed things up back then too. But could you imagine if we still had competition? How much better the TV would be?
It would be very different than what it is now, I think.
Mm-mm. All right, well, we're going to jump back to WWE. So you guys brought this up in the chat, the Randy and Ray match and potential feud. I thought it was very interesting. Obviously, since Randy's been back, he's been methodically taking people out or just being the old school Randy Orton that I don't know if we used to love it or not, but it was always compelling. You know, I liked Randy being that evil Viper type guy. And I thought that was cool, by the way. Ray doing his gimmick, sliding under the rope into the RKO.
Yep.
I was like, whoa. You know, because you kind of expect RKOs, right? Because you know Randy's going to do one out of nowhere. And then he finds a way to do one you didn't expect.
Right.
So what's your thoughts on this? And could this be the most compelling thing on SmackDown right now, coming off a Survivor Series where they lost everything but the kickoff match?
Right.
Aaron, I'll start with you.
I thought it was a really great way to end SmackDown. Definitely one of the highlights of that show. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be Randy Orton versus Rey Mysterio. I feel like Mysterio is probably going to be feuding with Nakamura for the U.S. title. I know they're doing a segment for Starrcade this weekend. They're doing Miz TV with Rey Mysterio and Shinsuke Nakamura. So I feel like that's going to be the direction, although based off of television, you would think Rey's going to want revenge on Orton for everything that happened and Orton grabbing the mask and whatnot. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I just hope that something can happen with the U.S. title. I feel like right now it's going nowhere, and maybe if Rey Mysterio gets the title, it can be elevated once again, and we can actually have a reason to care about it. It feels like Nakamura as champion is doing absolutely nothing, and of course he lost to Seth Rollins and wasn't even on SmackDown again, I don't think. TJS, your thoughts on what should be happening here with Rey Mysterio? What would you do with him if it was your call?
Hey, TJS, before you start, and call me, this is where I get the thumbs down. Could you imagine this becoming a feud? If we wrote creative, Randy and Ray, and one of them was the WWE champion right now, not Daniel Bryan, that would all, you know what I mean? They did the whole mask thing, Aaron. How could they just make this go under the rug now? Okay, go ahead.
Right.
Well, on 205 Live, that's exactly what they do. Is TJP's gimmick is that he takes the mask from the Lucha House Party. He's gotten like all three of their masks at this point, and now I guess they're just copying that. So now Randy Orton is
copy and paste.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Randy Orton needs to just drop the RKO because I get that it's a big part. He's a heel. We don't want to see his finisher. We want to not like him. We want to like. I love the RKO, and that's a problem. I thought the sliding RKO was awesome. That's a problem. He's a heel. I don't want to like him.
Good point.
But to be fair, I think Randy's matches are boring anyway, unless they're like NoDQ, But I just get bored with his matches. I love his promos are okay, and I love his heel like beatdowns and whatever, and I love the screwdriver in the ear thing. He's good at what he does, but he has such a slow pace, which I guess is part of the heel gimmick.
Yeah, it is.
It's what us old school wrestling fans enjoy. The new school, obviously, it's too slow and boring. I get it.
Now, see, I like Orton's style. I think he does a great job as a heel, and I think he's better off as a heel than a face. I think.
Oh, definitely. I hated babyface Randy Orton.
No, I agree. It didn't feel very authentic at all. I think he enjoys it a lot more, and you could tell in his work that he's way more into being a heel than a face. But TJS, thank you for that. Stefan, any thoughts on Orton and Mysterio and possible storyline scenarios moving forward?
Well, this is definitely the best version of Randy Orton.
Yes.
And he's tapping into something in this character that I haven't seen since him versus Triple H. Back when he had Triple H handcuffed to the ring and he was making out with Stephanie McMahon, that was a brutal Randy Orton. But we have seen all of this before. There were only two things in this match that entertained me at all. First of all, him ripping the mask. Because it wasn't just him taking it off. He ripped it.
Right.
And he almost exposed enough of his face that he might as well have taken it off. And then the slide into the RKO. Not so much for the RKO, although it is nice to see an RKO out of nowhere onto something new, something different. Everybody loves the one where Evan Bourne came off with the shooting star press and the RKO.
WrestleMania 31.
That versus Shelton Benjamin springboarding off the ropes into the super kick, into the Sweet Chin music, is probably like the two biggest battles for highlight reel spots and intros. But those were the only two things I liked. And the reason I liked the slide into the RKO was because the slide into the splash is something new out of Rey Mysterio. Other than that, it's the same Mysterio that we saw before he left. Like, there's nothing new here. And this match, there's a reason that it hasn't happened in over a decade. And they kept spouting it on the announcers table. Like, oh, wow, we haven't seen this in, 12, 14 years, something like that. Well, gee, that's because we saw it all back then. We don't need to see this match again. We need to see Orton putting over somebody new. We need to see Rey Mysterio putting over somebody new. Going back to Aaron's point about, how a company can fail and succeed. They're not succeeding with this because this is not an interesting storyline for me, other than the fact that he ripped the mask. The fact that he took it off and the fact that I guess they're doing that in 205 Live, it's not ripping off 205 Live because removing a mask is something that happens, throughout storylines in wrestling over decades. but it's supposed to mean more because the mask is supposed to mean something. It's not just supposed to be, fodder for the end of a match to make Randy Orton look sadistic.
Well, that's been Randy Orton's thing. He's been talking about how he's going to remove the identity of everyone. Remember, he washed off Jeff Hardy's face paint.
Right.
Yep.
So. Yeah, I like how he tore it, but I'm not.
Oh, and the fingers of Ty Dillinger too. Don't forget.
Yes. No more 10.
It's been consistent at least with that gimmick for Orton. So yeah, maybe this won't just be a feud versus somebody. Maybe it's Orton just systematically taking everyone's gimmick.
I just hope they leave this here, or if it goes on at all, one more match where Rey Mysterio gets his comeuppance, and then leave it alone because we don't need to see them versus each other anymore. They need to be putting over new talent, and because they don't have very many more years left. You can't leave them on the top until they're too old to go, and then now you have nobody to put on the top.
Right.
So
I think that's a lot of Vince McMahon's doing, though. Maybe one day when Triple H and Stephanie have more of the final say-so, you will see the younger NXT-type talent getting more pushed. But let's go to the main event. And speaking of main event, Aaron Rift, when AJ Styles was the WWE champion, was he really ever in the main event?
Nope.
As soon as he loses it to Daniel Bryan, who's in the main event at the next pay-per-view?
Yep.
Daniel Bryan. So we're going to go around the horn. Daniel Bryan turned heel leading into Survivor Series. Obviously, was this to shake things up because Becky got hurt and who knows? Now, AJ's kind of been gone, Aaron. Is he going through contract negotiations right now, just on arrest? I don't know the exact details.
Well, his contract's apparently up in the spring. However, I feel like maybe he got burned out a little bit and he's taking some time off and spending the holidays with his family. But he is scheduled for TLC, and I expect him to be back in the mix. And I think that if it wasn't for the Becky thing, he probably would have stayed WWE champion until CM Punk's title reign was ended. By AJ Styles. I don't know if he's going to be back
Kyle.
Well, I think Kyle would have been right if Becky didn't get hurt. But yeah, anyways, I see AJ Styles still being in the big picture in WWE, and I think they'll keep him around. Especially with going back to earlier with the AEW talk, I don't think WWE is going to let him go. He would be a hot name for them to help get them off the ground. So I don't think AJ Styles is going anywhere. He's one of the highest paid guys in the company already. So I suspect he's going to be making even more money, probably a lighter schedule. And yeah, I don't see him going anywhere. Will he be WWE champion again? I don't know about that anytime in the near future, but I could definitely see him having another reign or two over the next couple of years. So yeah, I think AJ Styles is going to keep being a big player in WWE, and we'll see what happens. I'm really curious to see what happens for WrestleMania now, because my feeling before was that they were going to do AJ versus Bryan at WrestleMania. But now what do? Do you have The Miz go babyface and face Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania? Do you do a match at TLC and then do you do another match at WrestleMania? I mean, I don't know where things are going to go for AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, their match. What's it going to be? Stefan, do you have any thoughts on it, like potential WrestleMania directions for these guys now?
The only match I want to see out of Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania is versus The Miz and for the WWE Championship.
I like that, Stefan. I agree with you.
Miz babyface turn?
The direction I want to see them hit, and how they get there. As long as they get there, I don't give a dang about.
So Miz face turn then?
I think at this point, because it's been 3 or 4 years since they've tried a Miz face turn.
Yeah, it didn't work so well last time.
He has gotten better. He gets better every year,
right?
Especially on the mic.
Do you think they're past that though, with the quick win that Daniel Bryan had on Miz at Super Showdown? You think they're past that feud
now? But you can bring it back around. Have Miz and Asuka win the mixed match challenge, and then he gets number 30 in the Rumble. He wins, and he goes on to face Daniel Bryan.
Now, see, I wouldn't do it that way. If I was booking Miz as a babyface, especially, I'd have him go in as number 1 and win the whole thing, and then just shock the world. That's what I would do.
That would help. That would definitely, yeah.
They put the stipulation on the mixed match challenge this year.
Right.
That gets number 30 spot in both of the Rumbles. Why?
I don't know.
You know,
Why not do that at Survivor Series? That's my whole rant about Survivor Series, that there was nothing on the line on that pay-per-view.
everybody's rant, but
I just hope they give the winner of the Rumble some respect next year.
I hope so. Like, if it's a repeat of, Nakamura and Asuka, that was a great moment from last year's Rumble. That was a really memorable Rumble pay-per-view. However, the aftermath of it was pretty lackluster to the point where, it watered down those victories, I thought. But TJS, your thoughts on all this stuff with AJ Styles and the WrestleMania direction?
What was the main event of last year's Survivor Series? Was it
the Survivor Series match?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Kurt Angle and the Shield.
Okay. Okay. So I think the Miz babyface turn is happening because there was a dark match on SmackDown, and it was Daniel Bryan versus Miz, and Daniel Bryan used a low blow and got himself DQ'd in this match. I think
apparently the Miz cut a promo afterwards, a straight babyface promo.
Yeah. See, so I think, and the whole thing with Shane, that's not heel, and he's been cheering Shane on and everything, and you could say that he's going to turn on Shane, or this is going to lead to a match with him, and you even had Miz acknowledge the Miz is awesome chants this week on Miz TV. He said it's good to be home. He didn't insult the crowd. So I think that we might be getting babyface Miz. It's interesting, and I would love to see Miz versus Bryan at WrestleMania, because I don't think Miz and Bryan can have the same alignment. I don't think you could have face Miz and face Bryan, or heel Miz.
I agree.
So, because then you have Miz doing Daniel Bryan's moves.
Right. They're meant to be enemies, them being allies. Yeah, it doesn't really seem to work that well.
So, and I also love Daniel Bryan's promo on SmackDown. He had like the wild man hair. He just looked crazy.
Yeah.
He's speaking in third person. He's basically woken Matt Hardy at this point, it seems. But I really like it. I like the vicious Daniel Bryan, and I love that they played up on the loss. He said that Brock was beating the weakness out of him.
Yep.
That's good storytelling.
I agree.
Because Daniel left with a big smile on his face. That's just awesome.
I think Daniel Bryan was talking from the perspective of Daniel Bryan's dreams. He was Daniel Bryan's dreams, talking about the old Daniel Bryan and the new Daniel Bryan. So maybe next week we'll see him show up as the new Daniel Bryan with new music.
Yeah, I love it. It's so creative. Instead of just having Daniel Bryan come out there and be like, "You people betrayed me, blah, 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 blah. I knew that I would never win. You guys don't support me, blah, 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 blah." So it's creative because they even played up on the injury where he retired and he's in the hyperbaric chamber. It's just great storytelling. I love it.
So the rumored main event for WrestleMania, if they get there, Seth Rollins challenging Brock Lesnar. Think about this. WrestleMania 31, it was Roman versus Brock. Who cashed in?
Yep.
Aaron, you were there. Seth won, and Roman's out with leukemia. Just tell me that wouldn't be a good story, fighting that one for his brother who won't be able to be there.
Right.
And the crowd would be behind Seth because of being sick of Brock. To me, that would be a great main event, and I really didn't think of it until I started seeing the rumors. Any thoughts on, I'm already excited for that. Watch, it won't happen now.
Well, yeah,
Any
they
thoughts
had that
on that
one
potential?
match. They had that one match at one of the pay-per-views, maybe Battleground, or I'm not even sure which one it was. I'm sure Greg Cherry would know. Was it Battleground?
I believe so, and that's the match that Undertaker interfered in.
Right, yeah, it was whatever the pay-per-view was before that SummerSlam. So they really have unfinished business, and every time that they have been in the ring, it's been really good stuff. Like, I think of that triple threat match with John Cena. That was a great match, and the Battleground match was great too until they did the lame Undertaker finish. But yeah, I think that would be a really solid WrestleMania main event, and Rollins is red hot right now, red hot Rollins. So yeah, I say go for it, and if anybody's going to run Brock Lesnar out of WWE, let it be Rollins. I mean, some people were arguing McIntyre, and I think that would be pretty cool, but I sense like the momentum's really with Rollins right now as a babyface. And, you just have that dynamic where the crowd hates Lesnar so much, except for when, no, they did hate him at Survivor Series, which was really weird, how the crowd just went from wanting to see Lesnar beat up Bryan, and then people started getting sick of all the suplexes, and people were chanting same old shit, and then all of a sudden, I don't remember the last time I've been to a show where the crowd flipped like that. They were like behind Lesnar firmly in the beginning, and then they shit on him like halfway into the match and started cheering for Bryan like crazy. When Bryan got that yes lock on, like the whole place was shaking. Like they wanted to see a title change so badly. So I was blown away by how the crowd just completely
Well,
did
but
a
even though the
180.
title wasn't on the line, in their mind, maybe they thought it was. I mean, yeah, you're in the heat of the moment.
Brock Lesnar never taps.
Right.
Could you imagine a crowd like a Chicago crowd or something like that if John Cena ever tapped out?
Right.
John Cena never tapped.
That would have been a WrestleMania moment right there.
If Brock tapped out in LA, that roof would have blown off. The crowd was so badly wanting to see that.
As far as Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, I don't care who it is. I don't want to see that match because in order for that to happen, Brock Lesnar has to hold the Universal Championship until WrestleMania.
It just happened.
And
who's he going to lose it to and when?
Braun Strowman at Royal Rumble. Just give it to Braun Strowman and be done with it. Let Brock Lesnar go to the UFC and be off of our TV and not holding the Universal title hostage while we have to go through a pay-per-view with no Universal title on it.
You know what's funny? I think I'm actually going to predict whatever his match is for WrestleMania. I'm just calling it now. I'm going to say Brock wins. Because WWE just keeps...
Aaron, you might have to. I'm thinking the same way you are, even though I'd want the other guy to win.
I'm going to do the reverse psychology. I'm just going to start predicting Brock Lesnar from now on. I think I'm going to do it for WrestleMania again, just because it's just so ridiculous now.
That's what I did at last year's WrestleMania. I was like I think me and Virtue were the only two that... No, Virtue, of course, called Roman Reigns. It was me and somebody else called Brock Lesnar, and that was it. And Brock Lesnar won.
Well, that's all. That's all I got. Anybody got any other hot takes this week, or you want to call the show?
Seth is the best wrestler in the company. He needs to take the title from Brock because Braun has already lost, so Braun's not credible enough to do it at this point. So Seth has never really lost. So
well, how about this?
To win it and to win that title out of tribute to Roman being out sick. I just like that.
Right.
Believe it or not, people that hate Roman Reigns, before he announced his leukemia, he had a pretty good following. He has. I was at Mania. I saw his line, right? There are people that like Roman. So that story would mean something to me. Seth.
If he wore... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I guess I have one more little quick topic here. You know, with the NoDQ year-end awards coming up, since we are discussing Seth Rollins, I mean, who would you guys pick for the male superstar of the year? I mean, would it be Rollins? Would it be AJ? Would it be Kenny Omega? Anybody have an opinion on that if they had to pick somebody?
That's wrong.
I would say Jericho, but he doesn't have the volume. So, what does everybody else say?
Seth,
you're going with Seth?
Phenomenal one.
Oh, AJ Styles. All right.
It's the champ most of the year. The only other guy that you could give that kind of credit to is Brock Lesnar, but he never shows up. So
right, and people are not really nominating him anyway, so I don't even think he's going to make the call.
I'd probably go with Seth. Jericho just doesn't have the volume. But in my heart, I'd go with Roman because, dude, the guy was working with an illness. I don't know when it was diagnosed, but he had, you know what I mean? He was working big matches, main events, with something in his blood that could kill him. I mean, that's whatever. hate me, but that means something to me. You know, it's the real life aspect of it.
Has anybody nominated the best in the world?
What's that?
Has anybody nominated the best in the world, Shane McMahon?
No.
He already won. He already has the trophy.
So I go Seth.
So does he have a no DQ trophy?
We should make him one. He is the best in the world, after all.
I go Seth, but sentimentally Roman.
All right.
Did you watch the AJ Styles documentary, by the way?
Which one?
It's on the network, the new one.
I've seen parts of it, but not all of it.
So it turns out that he was working with a torn hamstring this year, and he didn't tell anyone. So it was very quiet, kept under the rug. So he was defending the title with a torn hamstring
that would make sense why he wants to take some time off and have a lighter schedule.
Yeah, and about the Seth thing, I was going to say, what if he wore, Roman's vest to WrestleMania? I think that would be a cool touch to face Brock. He wore it during his entrance and then took it off later.
Maybe that's a little overkill, but I wouldn't mind, afterwards, maybe doing some kind of salute to Roman or something like that.
He looked like a toddler wearing his dad's uniform.
Yeah, right.
He's jiggling around on his small shoulders.
Fair enough.
Well, that's all I got. So thanks, everyone. That was a great discussion as always.
Absolutely.
Could have been more heated. Oh, but Jeff wasn't on.
I know,
we got to
right?
get him back. We got to get him back on. So let's go around and do the plugs. Stefan, since you haven't been on, this is your first time on the review or second time? I can't
I
remember.
believe this is my second go around.
Second time. Well,
been
go
a
ahead and
while.
do your plugs first then.
Okay, well, you can find me on nodq.com/Stefan. That's STEFAN. That'll take you straight to my Twitter page. Or you can just find me on Twitter, Stefan R. Osborne, OSBORNE. I am one half of NoDQ's resident NXT reviewers, me and the General Jerry Slaughter. You can find him on Twitter at NoDQ General. And we do NXT. We do What's NXT usually goes up on Thursday. And we do the NXT party, which usually goes up on Fridays for NXT UK. And we do the NXT party with the hope that on this screen back here that you may or may not be able to see, we can have the NoDQ fans on the show doing the review with us. If you'd like to do that, find me on Twitter, give me a DM, or leave a comment down below and let me know how I can get a hold of you, and we will try and get you on the show. Other than that, go to nodq.com/shirts. Sorry, TJS, I'm taking your gimmick. And right now, Pro Wrestling Tees has got a 20% off sale for Black Friday that goes on all weekend long. You can get $100 worth of products, and they will give you 5 free gifts. You get $150 worth, they will give you free shipping. So that's why I ordered, 7 NoDQ shirts?
Thank you.
I ordered
all of them but mine. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I got yours for free. It's sentimental. I don't need a Virtue shirt, and I'm not going to buy a Fire Virtue shirt because I don't want anybody.
See, don't spread that stigma. I want people, whether they like me or hate me, to buy it. All right, go ahead. That's
Hashtag Fire Virtue.
It's all good. Continue, my man.
I wish I had waited until the TJS the toilet shirt was available.
I know.
It's like you got more shirts to buy.
Well, I already had a TJS shirt. I'm trying to fill out everybody else. So, and I got one of the Galaxy shirts too. Those were cool.
Yeah, they're nice.
You have OCD, you're going to need them all. So you'll be back on there before the weekend's over.
Keeps adding too many shirts. There's never enough sales for me to buy all of the shirts all at once.
All right. TJS.
NoDQ.com/TJS takes you to my Facebook. Talk to me there. Twitter at NoDQ_TJS. Stefan plugged the shirts. The new Tyler the Toilet shirt is available, people, along with the classic TJS shirt. The art on the Tyler the Toilet shirt is courtesy of our good friend Kayfabe Candy Ass. Give him a follow at Planet Kayfabe on Twitter. He writes columns. Very, very good stuff. And that's it for me.
Yeah, so again, make sure you guys check out the t-shirt page, 20% off all the shirts. Fire Virtue or Higher Virtue. The choice is yours. But buy a shirt, show your love, show your support. We have the Ladies in NoDQ shirt, which is up. We have the NoDQ Galaxy shirt, which has everybody's name that is part of NoDQ in some fashion or actually did a super chat donation during the month of November. So your name might be on that shirt. Pick one up while you can, 20% off. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding the upcoming TLC pay-per-view. And that's all I got. Virtue?
And I'm Virtue. You can follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue, where it can get very volatile. You can go to my Facebook, NoDQ.com/Virtue. And, of course, you see the Virtue's Rage shirt up there. You see the Fire Virtue shirt, which I think Aaron Rift, that looks pretty cool. I don't know if you designed that.
I did.
Thank you. So anyway, for Stefan, for TJS, for Aaron Rift, I am Virtue. This is a NoDQ review, and we will be back again next time.